My name is Julia Baker. I founded Brothy about 2 years ago, and I'm here to talk to you about social media. Um, I think it's worth prefacing that there is the right way to do things, and then there's the way that I've done things over the last couple of years. And I think, I want to say that because there are a ton of like social media experts out there who know what they're talking about, and they have like structured ways to approach content creation and finding your voice and um, post regularity and scheduling and all of that. But as I've found, there's only so much time in the day, and I am not a dedicated social media person. Like I have to run every other part of the business, still work markets, still like work out of the kitchen every once in a while in production. Um, it's a lot, right? So again, like there's the way that you can do things and should maybe do, the experts would tell you to do something, and then there's the way that I've approached it, which is a little bit looser. Okay, so there were a few topics I was asked to cover. The first being coming up with content, the second being telling my story and the story around my brand, third part being promoting markets, and then the fourth being cross promotion. So those are the four kind of topics we'll get into over the next couple of minutes. And if you do have any questions as you're going through this, as you're reading this or listening to it, watching it, you can always DM me at BrothyPDX on Instagram, and I will probably respond pretty quickly. Now, when it comes to coming up with my content, right, to tell the story around Brothy, if you again look at that framework of like what an expert would tell you to do, and then what I actually did when I was like in the trenches of building my brand, what an expert would tell you to do is to come up with a few different like content pillars or franchises, right? Things that you really want to stand behind, things that you want to consistently storytell around, whether that is your production processes, the team that you work with, the like that as a food artisan or producer, right? Like I like to talk about the farms that I partner with. There are things that you could like really get into, right? Like if you are a farmer, you could start like some of your franchises could be around harvesting, or it could be around recipes, right? Like there's like on the farm type of work, there's in the kitchen, there's the lifestyle around like living healthier, eating more vegetables, right? Like supporting local farms. So as you're kind of like coming up with your social strategy, right, you can kind of loosely have that in the back of your head, right? And I want to use this juxtaposition of like what an expert would tell you versus like what I actually did, because like I didn't have content categories or franchises. I posted whatever I felt like it, or whatever I really had the energy to post on that particular day in that particular week. And there are definitely weeks and days and months that Brothy PDX, that Brothy is more active. And that's dependent on mostly personal factors. Sometimes I have more time and I create more content, right? And that's again, like an expert would say, like come up with your 3 to 6 content franchises, work, create a calendar around like what you want to post on what day, and then create a systematic approach. Like, hey, on Mondays, I'm always posting recipes. On Tuesdays, I'm always posting lifestyle content. On Wednesdays, I'm posting process, whatever, right? Like that would be a more like Virgo approach to this, right? Systematic, structured. You know what you're going to talk about, you know when you're going to talk about it, and there's no kind of like there's like limited flexibility, right? So you just like execute and you don't have to plan so much because you did all of the planning up front. And then, there's like a little bit more loosey-goosey approach where the beauty in having a smaller brand, right? Like a smaller brand being like one that doesn't have VC funding, right? Like you're building this from the ground up, you're bootstrapping, you're whatever, you're managing a lot. You don't have a social media expert, consultant, specialist that you've hired to run your account. And, that's kind of how I've done it. And, there'll be days where I post and it's like literally just a picture of a mug of broth because that's what I was doing that morning. I took a picture of my mug of broth and then I just posted it. And that's like, again, that goes to like the beauty of having a smaller brand that no one's really checking for. You can have a little bit more freedom. You can have a little bit more fun. It could be infused with more authenticity. Like, don't overthink it. Just like put something out there, right? Like, if you're on a farm and your like chickens are doing something cute, like take a picture of your chickens or a video of your chickens. Yeah, and that's it. I think what's really easy about, the position most of us find ourselves in is that like we live our brand, right? And like we know what's right because like our brands are so kind of like inseparable from who we are as people. So that's what I'll say about coming up with content. Is just don't overthink it. If you want to overthink it, create franchises, create a schedule, and post on that schedule. Or don't. When it comes to telling your story, there's again this like kind of dichotomy of like what somebody would tell you to do if you were like to really approach this systematically, and then like what you could do because you're a small business and you're figuring it out and you're being scrappy, right? So I went to business school. Like this is something I loosely know about is brand strategy. And if you wanted to do this like the right way, you want to do some thinking about like what your brand stands for. So when I think about Brothy, it's like more than anything, it stands for fun and friendship. Like getting together with your friends, being healthy, making healthy choices in support and in community with each other, right? That's why I love to collaborate with different market vendors. That's why I like to source from different market vendors. Like it is about fun and friendship. And that's at the heart of what Brothy is. It's not really about bone broth. Like it is, obviously. I'm selling bone broth. But they're like those like brand feeling words, right? So when I go and post any piece of content, I try to think about like, how is this being perceived by somebody who doesn't know that Brothy is about fun and friendship? Is this fun? Is this like friendly, approachable? Does it feel like I am presenting Brothy in a way that like checks those boxes without like really like throwing it in people's faces? Like, I don't know. The flip side of that is that like if you don't know what your brand is and you don't really know what you're standing for, like most of us don't have 100,000 followers, so you can figure it out. You could just like throw some stuff out there. It's like, oh, do I want to be irreverent? I don't know. Let's write some content, like let's put a couple of video or photo posts out there with captions that are more irreverent and see how that lands with my people, or see if that like attracts any new people. Maybe irreverent isn't the thing. Like, do I want to be more ephemeral and ethereal and like beautiful and whatever? Like, is that the vibe? I don't know. I can't answer that question for you. But that's part of the filtering that goes on when I'm telling my story through the content, or at least for Brothy. This third point is around promoting markets. And what I'll say about promoting markets is that like that shouldn't be exclusively what you do on your Instagram. Obviously, if you're listening to this, you're probably vending at a farmer's market. Yeah. And you should not have more than 1 or 2 posts about your farmer's market schedule in a week. Right. And I say that because 90% of your content should not be about selling anything or how to buy something. Right. And I say that because like there is so much out there right now. There's like so many brands, so many promoted posts. There's so much stuff on the internet that is actively trying to like sell. And a lot of like the power in Instagram and a lot of the power in social media, whether it's like TikTok or YouTube or whatever you decide to get into, is in like that community building. And no one's going to really want to be a part of your community if they feel like you're trying to sell something to them in every single post. Right. So the way that I usually approach it is I will post once or twice right before the farmers market weekend, right? So Brothy is at the PSU market on Saturday and the Montavilla market on Sunday. And I'll either post on Friday night saying like, hey, I'm at these 2 places, or I'll post Saturday morning at PSU and Sunday morning at Montavilla, right? And in those situations, both of the markets will often like repost. So people like start to see Brothy more, right? They start to know my schedule better. I do think it's really important to have a consistent schedule, but that's not my topic. So that's, I'll kind of leave that over here. Yeah, just don't obviously post about your markets, right? Because the people at Montavilla, they want to repost you. They want to like get your word, like get your name out there and help you, you know, spread the love for whatever you're cooking up. Do a little more. You could do a little more. And then the last thing I'll talk about is cross promotion. This is something that I really love to do because, you know, it is like so much of what Brothy stands for is friendship, community, and connection. That I have found little ways that I could partner with other vendors at the market, right? Whether I am sourcing directly from them and I'll like take a picture of the celery that I bought from Fiddlehead Farm, tag them in it. If they repost, whatever. If they don't, also whatever. But like the ability to like repost somebody and like get visibility on both of like to both of our groups of followers has been enormous in helping me grow organically. Like one of the things that I did here, I have this over here, was I made a broth, and this is like a category, right, that I've created for broth called Sips of Friendship. And it says in tiny small print, made with our friends at Rome. And this is like a second sticker that I put on top for Rome with their logo on it. And when we started to make this broth together, one of the terms in the like literal contract we put together was that we would help each other cross promote, right? Because it's like their customers and their consumers are going to be a little bit different from Brothy, right? They might have a lot of overlap in that they both go to the farmers markets and they, you know, like doing that with their time on the weekend, but they might not be the same people one for one. So when they're able to talk about Brothy and I'm able to talk about them, not just about like the broth, but like if I decide to get one of their rotis and I like post a picture of their roti at the market, like whatever, that's fun. That's part of the lifestyle, right? Like the lifestyle includes supporting your friends. The lifestyle includes like spending time at the farmers markets. So that's what I'll say about cross promotion. It's been enormously helpful, like in the tactics of it, right? You just want to hit at whoever, whether it's like the farmers market you're vending at, Montevilla or whichever other market, or one of the other one of your fellow vendors at the market, right? Like the more reposts, retags that you're getting, the more you're just like getting your name out there, and that never hurts. The last thing I'll say is about coming up with new ideas, new content, and that's really hard because you will feel like, I personally felt like I've been hitting a wall. Like I drink a lot of bone broth. That's it. Sometimes it gets kind of boring, right? Like what else am I supposed to talk about? Like this is what I do with this product and this is how I like engage with it in my life. So lately, especially like, last 2 weeks right now, just for context, right, where it's December 31st. So I've kind of taken this like last 2 weeks of December and thought like, okay, what do we want to talk about here? How can we expand and grow Brothy in a way that's like more than just like sale pictures of broth and different ways to drink broth and make drinking broth interesting? Like what is the lifestyle component of Brothy? So I don't know if I have a good answer for you on how to come up with new content. I think it's really just like taking a beat and remembering like, okay, if somebody buys your product or shops at your farm or whatever, who do you think they are as people? Who do you want these people to be? Right? Like, what's your like muse? Who is your muse? What are they doing with their life? And what is the stuff that they want to see more of? Those are some questions to consider that I'm actively working through now. All right, well, I think that's all that I have to cover. I think at the end of the day, it's important to not be a perfectionist, to just like try stuff out, throw stuff out there, hit post, see what happens. If you want more like formal tips on like ways to come up with content franchises and posting schedules and softwares you can use and different, like tools that are out there and resources that are out there, just spend like 10 minutes on Instagram. And I swear the algorithm will probably serve up at least 3 different accounts who are like Instagram coaches that will help you with this, maybe in a better way than I can. And then the last thing I'll offer is if you do want to chat more, reach out to me at brothypdx on Instagram or brothypdx@gmail.com on email if that's what you prefer. Thank you so much, and I look forward to being in touch.